Goodness me.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodness
Thank you.
me.
Stephen, there's people in the studio. Hello and welcome to the first live podcast of Hi, Mum. My mum's waving at me from the back. Hello and welcome to the first live 20-Minute Tim's podcast. I'm your host, Jamie. No cheers for me there. Thank you very much. And I'm joined, as always, by my podcast pal, Stephen. And Glasgow's favourite son, Martin Melly.
Yes. Fuck off.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, I know, not so bad. Cheers, boys. We managed our first live show. Oh, I can't reach. Melly, what's that you've got there?
It's a nice wee bottle of delicious Hun tears.
There we go. Okay, there we go. What a season. Absolutely roasting here. Just give me 2 seconds to remove my... Just too warm.
It is entirely prop humour we've written for tonight.
It's a cheap laugh, but cheap laughs still count. Like, I mean, how long have we wanted to do this, Stephen?
I think we booked the thing 2 years ago and then the world ended.
Yes.
So we originally had it booked for May 2020. And for obvious reasons, that didn't happen. Then we thought about having it last season. Again, for obvious reasons, that didn't happen. So 2 years on, you've all been waiting for this for 2 years. It can only be a disappointment, but you bought your tickets.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for that.
That's it. Look, this could have been a disaster. Celtic obviously went on to win the league, and that's why we're all here to celebrate. But it would be remiss of us not to mention the most pressing story of the week. Aaron Ramsey there, otherwise known as a fucking what? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So, that could have been... imagine we were sitting here, right, and they had won the league and the Europa League, and we'd invited you all for a podcast party.
Genuinely, that was make or break Wednesday, because we could have been sitting here with them, the Europa League champions. They didn't, by the way. But we could have been sitting here pretending it didn't happen with our stupid wee podcast and all that, just asking everyone to just sort of ignore that it happened. But Wednesday was absolutely terrible. It was absolutely... Oh, by the way, before we go any further at all, could I just urge everyone in the audience to, yes, enjoy the party, but please behave.
Yes.
Please behave yourselves.
There's plenty of water on.
Keep dehydrated.
Don't need to drink out of the toilets. It's fine, we're respectable about here, aren't we?
See what the fuss is about. It's actually quite good.
Put that away. Cause a stampede. And
see if it was up to me, I would have spent the entire year's budget on getting Bolly Bolingoli to record a message for everybody, asking everyone to behave. Bolly Bolingoli, Paul the Tim, absolutely all the celebrities. Please behave.
I took so much pleasure in watching them make a narce of that. It was one of my highlights of the season. Well, just when that happened, I could not get over it.
See the final penalty? I was watching it, and the girl in the flat above must have been watching it on BT, but we were watching it on the BT app. So she was like 30 seconds ahead. So it was 1-0 Rangers, then we heard the yes. So she's a Celtic fan, so we heard they must equalise, then 30 seconds later it goes in. But see that last penalty when it was the guy was before he'd even stepped up to take it, he was just about to run up, and we just heard screaming, and we're like, yes, they've lost it, man.
It had to be Aaron Ramsey, didn't it?
I think we wouldn't have turned up. See, because of your wanton tweeting about how much of a flop he was weeks ago, I was panicking about that.
I did delete a tweet.
Did you?
I tweeted Aaron Ramsey's the biggest flop that Scottish football's ever seen, and people are like, no, he isn't. He wait till he lifts the Europa League for us. And then even Celtic fans were like, nah, what about Shane Duffy? I'm like, you've got to be having a fucking laugh, Shane. Not a chance. Joey Barton, not a chance. But no, thankfully, Aaron Ramsey saved all those tweets for me. I just went on a wee retweeting spree. Get 2 laughs out of the same tweet. But look, you're right, Stephen, it could have been a lot different. We did want to do this last year. we wanted to have a 10 in a row party. Unfortunately, the 10 in a row thing was ruined by a virus.
Francis, sorry, Francis.
And Neil Lennon. And Neil Lennon. Absolutely. One of that, just the lads enjoying a pint. They're allowed some downtime, Stephen.
Just normal men. They're just innocent men.
You know, in many ways it saved our blushes. COVID meant we didn't have to do that. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, I meant to do this at the beginning. This is recorded. This is going out. This is the last flagship of the season, so feel free to laugh and cheer, especially laugh, make it sound hilarious to the people that didn't manage to get a ticket. But we are here, not to talk about last season. Is there anything you want to mention about last season before I move on?
No.
Terrific, absolutely smashing. We'll move right on. Ange, the guy that brought about the
Who's
Celtic...
that guy there?
No, I recognise his face. He phoned me when I had COVID. He phoned me to make sure I was doing... Genuine, true story. And he went, hi, is Dom Mackay here? I hear you've got COVID. I went, yeah. He goes, get well soon. I went, cool. Next question. No, we're here to talk about Ange Postecoglou, the guy that brought about the Celtic revival. A cheer for Ange. Mark Melly, Ange arrived last June, almost about a year ago. I want you to cast your mind back for the audience. What were your initial thoughts when Ange landed?
Well, it was a year ago next week that the whole Eddie Howe thing fell apart, and it was disastrous. So you think, good manager coming in, and then it fell apart. Then we get told it's going to be this Ange Postecoglou, and you're like, right, okay, I've never heard of him. But once we sat down, looked into him, and you go, do you know what, there might be something here. Had a look into him, I'm like, no, definitely something here, just haven't really heard of him apart from the World Cup. Then when he comes in and you get the cut of his jib, and we luckily get to go to some of the press conferences, and when he first got introduced, and they're like, there's something about this guy, as long as, it always comes back to it at the start of the season, as long as the board back him, we should do all right here. Maybe if he gets us within a few points of Rangers by the end of the season and we're not out of it, it'll be all good. And then he just tore up all those predictions and done 100 times better than that.
Stephen?
I don't think the surprise, I don't think the confusion was unreasonable at the time, because you cast your mind back, we'd just done the Eddie Howe thing for what seemed like about 3 months, just wasted a summer on it. And we'd come from having Brendan Rodgers, as you've put it before, a superstar manager, a bit of a snake and all that, yes, but it was a big name in management. Then we had Neil Lennon, which...
I'm a Neil Lennon fan, okay? I know I called him a virus. And that may look like I'm not a Neil Lennon. That was affectionate, aye. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I had Neil Lennon, which made sense at the time because he was available and desperate for a job. So he came in. Yeah. And we, at that point, we still are of the belief that we deserve, and we're basically entitled to like a manager of the stature of the club. So we want a guy who's been in Europe, a guy who's won leagues elsewhere and all that. And then I think we did a live sort of reaction to it the day Eddie Howe pulled out.
Yeah.
Or the day Celtic announced that Eddie Howe had pulled out.
It was almost the same day, wasn't it? Or it was like within 24
and I think
hours.
During that, you get like a message about Ange Postecoglou, and I think the two of us just sniggled. Just absolutely never heard of the guy. So I don't think it's unreasonable to be a bit confused by that, because, well, frankly, we've never heard of the guy. But after that point, it's kind of up to the individual to find out more about the guy. Now, from that point, I saw all the kind of snarkiness online about who's this guy, the J-League, etc. And I wanted to have a better opinion than that, because I like having better opinions than that.
You do?
A bit snide like that. So I got his book, because I'm very, very clever like that.
How many books?
You read?
I think you read 2 books a week.
One, sometimes 2 books a year. Cram them in. And from that point, I was able to glean that if all this isn't just the usual football book stuff, or the kind of apocryphals that aren't necessarily true, like jogging through the streets smelling the mints and stuff like that. Right?
That famous Brendan Rodgers quote for people that don't know.
If any of this has any substance to it, this is the kind of guy I want in charge of my football team. And it has played out exactly like that. I think if you were still clinging on to the stuff about what's he won, I think that's an unfair angle to come at because he can't have won anything yet. This is the start of the season. I think we all need to give him a chance. Thankfully, we did that. He made it past Christmas, and we reaped the rewards of that.
I think part of the problem was the direction the club was taking, the choices that were made, this sort of desperate clinging on to Neil Lennon when it became so apparent that the league was gone, we weren't going to win it. There was a point where it became somewhat salvageable. You know, we could have rescued it at one point. Yeah, we could have rescued it at one point, but we just couldn't shake him off. Then the Eddie Howe thing, and then Ange comes in. And you're like, this must be a joke. I think I did say on a podcast from very first that like he shouldn't be anywhere near the club, but that was basically the point I was making was how much of a gamble it seemed to be. You know, that they seemed to break the managerial norms. They went out of Europe, out of the UK, out of any realms of what we term success in this sort of footballing backwater that we now live in.
It's the City Group thing as well, wasn't it? Because remember end of last season, it's like, look, the manager's away, but we need a clear out from players to board, and the board was the main thing everybody wanted out, and it was only Peter Law that left, and then when we're linked to a guy from the City Group, you're like, this has got him written all over it. But see, to be fair to the board, which I don't like saying, but Eddie Howe and Ange Postecoglou were the two managers they targeted, and both really, really good managers, but luckily we get the best one out of the two.
We did. I mean, the Eddie Howe thing was a bit pathetic, wasn't it, in the end of it? He couldn't get his backroom staff and he sort of weaseled out of it. But as you say, we ended up winning a watch. There was a few decisions early on in Ange's, tenure at Celtic that really made us wonder what was going on. The portly poacher there. The chubby funster.
Lee Griffiths. Tubby marksman.
Yeah, the tubby marksman, Lee Griffiths there. I mean, when two players that got awarded new contracts, and we're going to talk about one of them, seriously, and we're going to laugh at the other one. Lee Griffiths getting a new contract, when that happened, you're looking at this, and obviously Anthony Ralston getting this other contract, you just thought, where's this club going?
That was the problem, wasn't it? It was desperation, because we all said towards the end of last season, we're going to go into these qualifiers with Barkas and goal, Ralston, Welsh, Beaton and Taylor at the back, and lo and behold we get to July and that's the exact back five we have, and you're like, what has happened here? We had months from February, March to get a manager in, we chased a guy, didn't get him, then when it's all said and done we get a manager in and he's scrambling about for a team, players are leaving and we need to give this reprobate a contract. Man, get him fit and firing. How are you going to get that fit?
See, before we start, Lee Griffiths, for anyone that operates a Celtic Twitter account like we do, Lee Griffiths is a touchy subject because every time you put the chubby marksman and you criticise him, you will have someone undoubtedly tweet and go, get him fit and firing, he's a 40-goal-a-year striker now. When did he score 40 goals?
Dyla, 2015?
15,
I mean, barely worth talking about. But before we go any further, is there any Lee Griffiths fans in the room? No, see? They simply do not exist within our demographic.
That's not a filter, by the way. That's not one of those face app things.
That is their face.
That's his actual shape. I think, as we sit here in May, I think he's actually still within the contract that Celtic gave him last year as well. So he's
still making bags.
He's not currently contracted, but he has played out that contract.
How many goals did he score this year, Steve?
4.
4 for 3 clubs?
Celtic,
aye, 4 for 3 clubs. It is worth mentioning. He looks like one of fucking Jim Henson's creations, doesn't he? He looks like something out of Labyrinth.
A haunted tomato.
It's absolutely fucking terrifying. But this is sort of indicative of the reception that Ange got from the press as soon as he came in, because they were pressing this Scottish football backwater that was a world football backwater. They're kind of always like off-putting, scared of people from the outside a wee bit, aren't they?
Yeah, they definitely are. In this day and age, it's pretty unforgivable, because even back when Lubomir Moravcik came in and Hugh Keevans called him a Czech dud and all that, the internet wasn't as prominent. But once you get Ange Postecoglou in, like we do, like most of you probably do, you go and look him up. Journalists and press here don't. They just go snarky, never been to Britain, never done it here, going to fail, out by Christmas. You can rhyme them off one by one. And one by one, Ange made them look stupid to the fact that they should all just go in and hand in their resignation right now.
Yeah.
That they're absolute dinosaurs that have no place here anymore, and hopefully they'll just start to not die off.
Jesus, Melly.
Retire.
Wow, relax.
Retire.
Jesus.
I have got a...
Keep it light.
There's a point of order here just before the intermission called Hun receipts.
Oh.
So we'll have a wee good rummage through those. Stephen, is it in any way understandable, given that the start that Ange had made, is it any way understandable for the negative reception he was getting?
No.
Next question. Okay.
I sit here with the full benefit of hindsight, perfectly comfortable with how we started and won the league. But
I mean, I'll admit, I'd said on some podcasts at the beginning that when we weren't winning, when we didn't seem to be getting it, I was like, you need to find a way to win these games, because I was worried about the league. I thought, it's good having an ideology, but there's no guarantee that this is going to work, especially when we weren't playing well, especially when we were dropping points. And I'd never once said he should quit or he should leave, but I was saying that, we need to find a way to win these games. So do you think, I mean, not us, obviously, because we're fault-free, but actual journalists...
Well, it's their job to do a bit better than that, to do better than, as you said, about the Czech dud and what was it they said about Wim Jansen, the worst thing to hit Hiroshima since the bomb and all that. It's basically just every... I know. I'm just after saying keep it light as well.
It's a good line, though, isn't it?
It's quite good. But they've got to do better than that. And I don't remember them doing that for Paul Le Guen when he came to these shows.
We know why that is. Maybe he was an ultra marathon runner.
The desert runner.
The desert running and all that.
What a pull that is. Wasn't prepared for that one. But Ange, I remember saying quite recently that after the start Celtic made, obviously, what was it, lost first 3 away games of the season, and I think drew another. All of this stuff that from the summer gets chucked up about he doesn't understand Scottish football, he doesn't know that he needs to win every single game here or you're a dud. And towards the end of the season, just before we clinched the title, it suddenly dawned on me that now we don't need that. We need a guy who knows that you don't have to win every single game. No. You can lose games and it's not the end of the world. What you need to do is keep your composure, stick to what you believe in. As he has mentioned in a number of times, Ange he's never up nor down. He's just totally on the level. Stick to what you believe in, and you'll reap the rewards of that. And that's exactly what we've seen. So I'm not really interested in any of this kind of blood and guts. You need to win every game as a Celtic manager. It's nice. It's nice to win every game. But what we needed this season was a guy who saw past all that.
I think we've got now Melly's a manager who's got principles as a man. He's also got principles as a football manager, and he was prepared to stick by those and live or die by those principles. And I think, looking at the whole thing as a whole, if it didn't work out, he was never going to change, was he?
No, I believe in the way he plays, because if you're going into your changing room and telling these players, this is how we're going to play, this is how we're going to do it, this is my philosophy, and then after a couple of bad results you go, do you know what, we're going to change that. How are you going to convince all of them that this is the right thing to do? So you need buy-in from your staff and the players, and if you change that, you're going to lose them all. And Ange didn't do that. And even in the games we played, out of the first 3 we lost away from home. The Hearts game, I thought we played all right, but we lost a goal in the last minute from a set piece. Rangers game, we were a mess. Edward and Christie played in that, and it just a goal from a set piece again. And the Livingston game's just that pitch. So within all that, we'd beat St Mirren and Dundee 5 and 6-0. So you're like, well, I can see what's happening here. We'd had a good result against Alkmaar. So you're like, look, I can see what he's wanting to do here. And when Ange talks about the way he wants to play, that's exactly how, as a Celtic fan, you'd pretty much describe to everybody, this is how I want my manager to play. And just the way he talks as well, the way he composes himself and talks to people and talks with the fans, as we've seen after the game on Saturday there, you couldn't imagine MD better since Martin O'Neill to lead the club right now.
At what point did you guys start to buy into Ange? Was it after the League Cup? Was it smashing Rangers? Was it smashing Rangers again? Was there a specific point when you look back in the season you thought, right, okay, I'm all in on this guy?
I remember the Hearts League Cup game, and it finished 3-2, but I think Celtic were 3-0 up quite early on, and this was on the back of, I think, the Dundee game or St Mirren game, and you're like, wow. Kyogo had got a hat-trick the previous week, he was absolutely flying, and you could just see, he's brought in these guys. We've still got a couple of weeks in the window left. I'm just going to go with this because what choice have I got? And do you know what? I love the cut of this guy's jib. I really want him to do well. I can't sit here and say I thought we were going to win the league because I thought that was beyond us. A team unbeaten last year and did well in Europe up until the final. So...
Did you guys know that Rangers absolutely blew the Europa League? Some watch, honestly, it's great.
It's tremendous. So when you're going like that, I thought, right, if we can stay on the coattails up towards the end of the season, I always kept saying get to January and try and get more players in because we were in that bad a mess. But the way we've just went on, and you know, well, we've got a chance here. We've got a chance here because again. Crowds, them having to play in front of them, shite bags. So you can pretty much guarantee they're going to lose the bottle at some point with that. And I just felt as if once it got to the turn of the year, I was like, I don't know if it's going to matter what Rangers do here because Celtic are flying.
To tie in two subjects here, when I was pretending not to watch the Europa League final the other night, it suddenly struck me how annoying Stephen Craigan is.
Oh my God. Do you know when you're talking a lot of shite, when Alex Ray has to pull you up for talking shite?
Alex Ray, the brains of the operation. It suddenly struck me how much piss he was talking, and I thought to myself, right, I was like, I remember moaning like fuck about Stephen Craigan talking pish before, so I searched WhatsApp for his name. I searched WhatsApp for Stephen Craigan, and something came up from a game previously this season where I was annoyed and spreading it through numerous group chats about how he was commentating on a Celtic game, and he said that it's okay to kick the ball away at a free kick as long as it doesn't go too far. His point was like, you can kick it a little bit away, but as long as it doesn't go too far away. And I remember like fucking hammering that into group chats and stuff like that, how much pish he's talking. But what also put me in mind of was a couple of messages down, I said, I can't believe we've done that. That's the league. That was the league away there, boys. And it was the 15th of December, 2021. We beat Ross County 2-1.
Who scored the winner?
Anthony Ralston scored the winner. And more on him to come. No spoilers. But that was the moment where I thought we were onto something here. We were actually good. Because I think at that point, had we dropped points there, Rangers would have been 6 points clear. Now, we saw later on that we overcome that margin anyway.
Yeah.
They were 6 points clear when Gio came in, and they didn't hold on to it.
No.
But at that point, I thought, right, we're seriously on to something. We've got a bit of substance about us this season.
Melly, just talk a wee bit, just for the audience's benefit, about smashing Rangers 3-0 at Parkhead.
That was unbelievable. It was me and you sat before it. We were doing the at the matching and.
That's a podcast that's available on Patreon. That's patreon.com/20.
By the way,
hands up if you're not a patron.
Aye.
Get out.
By the way, many people in the bar would have noticed there is a dog in tonight, so
Yeah.
that's actually a sniffer dog for non-patrons. So what's we are doing?
And the gall, the audacity to show up here. Sorry, Melly.
I don't worry. So when we were sitting doing it, and we had a tight game. It was sort of all building up to this, and of course the previous game was the Dundee United one where we got the winner. This game gave us the chance to go top, and we did believe that Celtic could go out and beat them, but I thought it was going to be tight. They were playing pretty well, Celtic were playing well, but I just felt maybe 1-0 Celtic, the odd goal in it or something. Then when you're sitting there for a couple of minutes and look, the disco lights get a lot of slated over the years, haven't they? They've been slated so much.
Alex Ray tweeted about the disco lights famously.
So when the disco lights went down and it's just shining on that huddle and it's just green and you're like, Celtic v Rangers, midweek, this feels a wee bit different. And then 5 minutes later we're 1-0 up, and then half-time 3-0 up, and you're like, oh no, something big is happening here. It was so good, and it's not even.
It was like back to the old days, wasn't it? It was like back to the Brendan Rodgers smashings.
Because again, it's Barisic who went off injured with cramp with 2 minutes to go because he was due to take a penalty the other night.
Yes, that's right.
Callum McGregor calling him a shite bag during the game summed it up. Rangers collapsed, and you could just see like. I don't really think they've got it in them to come back from this, despite it only being a point ahead. The psychological blow they took, that was Van Bronckhorst's first game as well. So
I think it's because they know in their hearts, they know within themselves that they don't deserve that last year. They know deep down that they're losers and they got away with one and they just one and done. That's it. What was it? Who was that guy from X Factor that does all the fucking video messages for folk?
Wagner.
I saw a Wagner one.
Still find him.
You can still find them. Somebody recorded a Wagner video after the and I thought it summed them up brilliantly. After the Europa League, he said, "From top dogs to hot dogs." Oh, fucking brilliant. From top dogs to hot dogs.
3-0 game good, eh?
It was tremendous.
I had COVID.
He did. He missed it.
I missed it.
But did you got to watch this one, didn't you? The 2-1 at Ibrox?
I did. Yeah, I did.
We
watched that together, of course. Yeah, that was after the game. After which I just fell on the floor and just sort of lay on my back.
Unbelievable. Talk us a wee bit about that, Stephen. Watching that game, the emotions.
It's hard to recall because I was so unbelievably tense during it as well. That was a massive turning point. Well, not so much a turning point, but a massive kind of tentpole in the season as well. That was a massive result, and I was worried about it, and which is why I wish we had footage of it. The two of you just started celebrating next door to the studio.
You collapsed in a heap.
I just fell over. I just laid on my back and just sort of stared at the roof. I couldn't believe we'd done it there. It was an absolutely amazing result. And prior to this, when was the last time we'd got a result?
Well, that was it. That's why these two results. Obviously, the League Cup final, which was tremendous as well, that we kind of skipped over a wee bit. But that's why these two results were so important for me in terms of the season, because as I'd said on the podcast previously, we just had to beat Rangers. We had to beat them. It'd been far too long. And then once we beat them at Parkhead, the next thing for me to do was beat them at Ibrox and just remind them that we're fucking back. Like, you don't have it the way you had it last season. This isn't Neil Lennon Celtic. This isn't no fans. This is the real deal you've got back.
Yeah, and when you look at the final league table, they both lost 3 games and Rangers lost 2 to us. And when you look at the league table, the league is shite. So shite. There's more than 20 points between Rangers and third, and then more than 20 points between third and fourth. It's a terrible league, so it kind of did come down to the games against them, because Celtic dropped points at the start of the season. So Celtic finished 4 points ahead, beat them twice, and only get beat by them once. So you look at that and go, right, that's what's going to need to happen, because it was going to be tight all season because the league is so bad. But Celtic had to make that statement. And when we're talking about the 3-0 game, we said Celtic need to go out and beat them, because then it's going to go another game, it's going to go to Ibrox, and there's a chance we might not win that. But to beat them and then to go to Ibrox, and a lot of it's reminiscent of Martin O'Neill's first season, because up until that I had never seen Celtic beat Rangers at Ibrox as a fan. And Martin O'Neill went and done it, and I thought anything was possible after that. And when Ange came in and he beat them 3-0 and all that, you're like, right, the only thing he's really got to tick off after this is obviously the league, but going there to their midden and beating them. And when he done it, it was even better, because Celtic, I don't think, played that well, but they ground it out and they defended well towards the end. And look, you can talk about the emotions, but if you're lucky, you will never have to watch Rangers v Celtic at Ibrox with him, because he makes it 10 times worse.
What's wrong? You call me a panic merchant?
Yes.
I'm a warrior. Just leave me alone.
You curtailed our celebrations by shouting offside, offside.
No, it was him. It was fucking him. They scored and me and you were dancing about and he's like, nah, it's offside. It's fucking offside.
Yeah. I don't think we get the Ibrox, come on, man.
Unbelievable, man. Summer is here, the sun is shining, the shirts are off and your balls are smooth. You heard that right, your friends at Manscaped are here to make sure your beach balls are as smooth as Floridian sand. In summer you want to kill some cold beers and barbecues, not kill the vibes with pubes peeking out from underneath your swimming trunks. That's why Manscaped has a Performance Package 4.0 to keep the party in your pants looking crisp and refreshing all summer long. Dive headfirst into summer by joining the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com/Tims for 20% off and free shipping. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to prepare that summer body. Inside this package, you'll find a lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, weed whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver ball deodorant, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. Stephen, what else could you possibly want?
Well, you could explain exactly what that product is. The Lawnmower 4.0, that's just a ball sack trimmer.
That's exactly what it is.
From your podcast mates. And yeah, crack on.
There's no other way to put it, Stephen. That's exactly what it is. It's just a ball sack trimmer from your podcast mates. And if you go to manscaped.com/Tims, you get 20% off with free shipping. This is the summer to turn your package into the full package with Manscaped. We can't go through a podcast at this time without talking about a couple of players. Kyogo, who was instrumental in the League Cup, and Tom Rogic, who has waved goodbye to Celtic. I think, well, let's talk about Kyogo first. This is a guy that sorry?
Pretty good, eh?
Oh, he's decent, isn't he? Yeah, this is a guy that Ange brought in, obviously, from the J League for buttons. What did we pay for him? £4.5 million? An absolute robbery. And he's been a sensation.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. I remember waking up and we just signed this Japanese superstar.
Oh, because it happened at like midnight or something. We
woke up in the morning with this tweet from Celtic, Kyogo Furuhashi, saying like, oh, this doesn't happen, because usually over here the press and all that, and that's something else that changed this season as well, is the press got absolutely nothing with Celtic. We just sign players without anything, and then when you do your obligatory YouTube videos and go, oh wait a minute here, this guy could be sensational, and looking at the profile of him, I never thought, look, he's going to be Celtic's central striker. I thought, well, maybe he'll play out in the left, because some of the games he's played out there in Vassell, and just as soon as that first game against Dundee, where he gets the hat-trick at Celtic Park, and when you think back to that, there wasn't full crowds, so I managed to get a ticket, so I was in the North Stand upper, down sort of towards the Green Brigade end, and looking down from that's a completely different view from I usually get, and just seeing the movement of the guy, like, this guy's incredible, and even the ball went over to the left-hand side, such a wee minor thing in a game against Dundee, but he sprinted over and slid in for a tackle and blocked the left back from playing it up. And you're like, this is the guy Ange needs to start all this. And just seeing him just hat-trick in that game, the finishing was top class. He's a great wee guy. Everybody seems to just take him to the heart instantly, and you're just like, we've got a superstar in our hands.
Do you remember when, I think it was just after Kyogo had signed, we sought out some kind of expert opinion.
Yeah. Other experts, not us.
Yeah. Some freelance expert opinion on him, because, it's the J League. It's a league we don't necessarily pay that much attention to. And we got on Sasha Pisani.
Right, yes.
Who's been on a couple of podcasts of ours. Really nice guy. Do you know how many goals he predicted? It was 5. It was 5. 5 goals for Kyogo. This Japanese football expert predicted 5 goals in this bum league of ours. What was it, 20 he finished up with?
20 in all.
I had 5 in a week to do
that. Absolutely.
Another thing he said, which was quite interesting, Sasha said, and it sort of touches on the point Melly made, was he said on that podcast that the Japanese press don't make up transfer rumours. So if the Japanese press say such and such is going to sign for Celtic, they don't have this weird notion where you just make stories up to get people to click on a link. It's mad. I think the thing about Kyogo is he's the type of striker. I've never seen that type of striker at Celtic Park before. We've had all different types, all different profiles, but this was like a new generation of forward that we'd just never seen at Celtic Park before. And as you see, as soon as he set foot on the pitch, he just lit the place up.
Well, I think he was billed, when he first signed, there was all sorts of talk about how he's better playing on the left, coming in and kind of taking up central positions off the left. It seems crazy now, to be honest, because he looks absolutely custom built for a Celtic central striker. But I know what you mean, he doesn't really fit the profile of, I don't know.
Because he's not the big guy, he's not the poacher, he's not the hold-up guy, you know what I mean? We've just never seen that sort of player before. Yeah. He's brilliant in the air as well for a short guy.
It's a couple of headers he's got, isn't it?
It's so funny. Yeah, it's short. Shorter than me.
It's all about the movement with Kyogo, isn't it? Because he's not going to beat somebody for a header, but even the one recently against Ross County, he'd one up at Dens Park as well, where he finds a space between 2 defenders, and look, Celtic have got good delivery now, so if he finds a space, he'll do it. But when he is jumping and going up for the headers, he does have that sort of Larsson silhouette about him, except he's got the hair going. Larsson had the dreadlocks at the start, but the guy has been incredible. And I've
heard a lot of people say, they always caveat this, they go, you don't really want to make the comparison, or you can't make the comparison, but Kyogo is very Larsson-like. Do you think the comparison's fair?
Yeah, well, Henrik Larsson, I've never really seen a striker like this that's just came in and banged in goals from the start. Henrik Larsson had an okay first season. He obviously had the big mistake in his first game. Even
yet to get 5 in his first 10 games, by the way.
Who?
A good bit of business, that. But even guys like Dembele came in and didn't start up to that Rangers game.
Petty grievances are the last point of all that.
So with Kyogo, apart from Scott Sinclair recently, I can't think of a guy that's came in and just been tremendous from the start. And he's only come in this season, but he's a guy you just can't imagine Celtic being without. And he is focal to how Celtic play and everything they do. And now he's got Maeda there as well. It's just pressing machines, and you can tell why Ange brought him in and went, this guy's going to be the one. And there's never going to be a player like Henrik Larsson ever again. I'll never go through my life and see a better player than that guy. He was phenomenal. But can Kyogo be next in line? Possibly, but we've said that with Dembele, we've said that with Edouard, and unfortunately these days, unless there's a guy like Tom Rogic, you don't really get to see them for that long. But just with Kyogo, I kind of accept that these guys are going to move on at some point, but I just watch him and go, I love watching you play, and I'm just going to enjoy every second of it.
Even if we don't get players like Henrik Larsson or Lubo or any other people you name, it's never going to stop us making absurd comparisons for the sake of content anyway, to be honest.
The podcast is mostly for absurd comparisons and nitpicking. That is why we do the podcast. We've got Tom Rogic up on the screen here. Rogic? Did I get that right? People slag me about the way I pronounce Tom Rogic's name, and I genuinely don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I know I say it 2 different ways. Tell me what I do wrong, tell me.
Rogic? Yeah, I think it's Rogic.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
There we go. So Tom Rogic has hung up. He put. There's some latent dyslexia inside of me that I don't know if that was right or wrong. So he put a post on Instagram just as we were coming out, just saying good luck, lads, with the live show.
Oh, okay.
They put a post on Instagram sort of saying goodbye, his final farewell to Celtic.
Tom Rogic did?
Mate. Right, okay. That threw me. Embarrassing me in front of my mates. He gave us one of our best moments of our Celtic Sport Life. Melee, I was there with you. Any complaints about my behaviour at that game?
No. To be fair to Jamie, when Craig Gordon punts up, he just hit me and said, it's coming. And then lo and behold, seconds later, ball drops to Rogic. He goes through and scores, and it's up there with the best moments of your life, isn't it? You're
talking about watch match for the benefits of the people who might not know.
The Scottish Cup final, Aberdeen.
Absolutely sensational. Stephen, Tom Rogic.
We had the conversation on Monday for any listeners about Tom Rogic, and sometimes I'll say things on podcasts for the sake of generating some sort of debate, some sort of like contention, and I kind of batted back and forth the idea of him maybe being a Celtic legend, whatever that entails these days. I'm never quite sure. But a couple of days on from it, from the emotion of seeing him walking off the pitch and all that, he is a Celtic legend. He absolutely is. I don't think we can ever...
Of course he is.
I don't... Just to be clear, that was for me. So
right.
Another round of applause for Tom Rogic, please.
Yeah, is that your opinion?
I don't think we can possibly deny him that based on the... not only time served, but the contribution given to Celtic, the huge goals. I mean, even if you strip away the Rangers goals, of which there are 6, which is right up there with the likes of, and again, different Rangers and all that, but again, the Alan Thompson, John Hartson, it's bordering on the contribution against whatever version of them you like to pick. It's up there with really anyone, apart from Henrik Larsson and all that. Even if you strip those away, you've got that goal in the cup final, which is as an iconic a goal as Celtic have scored in my lifetime, maybe even the last 50 years. You've got the last-minute winner against Kilmarnock. Yep. Saved Ronnie Dyler's job very briefly. The amount of iconic moments that guy has chalked up in a relatively small signing, what was it, 400 grand or something like that from Australia. I think I got away with not knowing the club he came from there. We'll brush over it. I think I got away with it. I think all that insight, and even that, even just taking away the cold numbers of it and all the iconic moments, the way he played is exactly the kind of thing we want as a Celtic player.
He's
going
to be. That's my worry about him leaving. He's going to be almost irreplaceable. I know we brought in Matt O'Reilly, and that was probably Ange looking down the road a wee bit, knowing that we needed a player to go in there. But he's just such a gifted footballer. He's going to be so difficult to replace.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that when you're thinking about going to the game, you go, I'm looking forward to seeing Tom Rogic today. And like games with that recent game at Ibrox, when you see Rogic start, you kind of have wee worries about what about the engine, but then you put that aside because you know he can come up with a moment of genius. And his best games for Celtic against Rangers have been at Ibrox. He's got more goals at Ibrox than he does at Celtic Park, more goals at Hampden than he does at Celtic Park against them. So you're looking at this guy and going, for the sort of faults he has, you can write them off for the moments of quality he has, because he's just great to watch. He's kind of, the thing when Martin O'Neill came in, he brought in a lot of players that get it, and I think that's happened this season. And I think Tom Rogic is one of those guys that get it, because he gets himself up for the big games, and there's nothing bigger than beating your biggest rivals. And if you're looking at Hunskelpers, you can't look any further than Tom Rogic in the last 10, 15 years, going back to Martin O'Neill's time.
We've been up and down with Tom Rogic as well. We have often criticised him.
I think we've called him finished on at least one podcast.
Yep. Never mind.
We've done that to everybody.
There's the European thing. I think we've kind of often criticised him for not having that kind of big European performance that you can look back on. But even that, I think that's probably harsh as well. And what I said on Monday, for anyone who hasn't watched or listened to it, what are you thinking about it? What I said was that once you get a certain amount of distance away from a player's playing time, that's when things maybe start popping back into your memory, and you distill things down into the things that really mattered. And I think performances will emerge when you think back to, do you know what, he really dug us. It might not be goals, but he really dug us out of a tight spot. Whether it was being able to take control of the ball and carry us up the pitch against Man City all those years ago, in that 3-each draw or whenever it was. I think things like that will emerge, and I think his legacy will only grow the longer he's away from the club now as well, because he's only just at the door. We're all a bit raw about it. We
never saw it coming, though.
I don't think it's not sunk in yet either.
No, the Rogic and Ange thing seemed like a match made in heaven. You thought, right, okay, Ange is here, Tom's going to stay.
We probably got the one season out of that because of that, because I get the impression that Tom Rogic is probably wanted, maybe not wanted, but has maybe been thinking about leaving for a while because of family reasons. I think he's got a child and all that. He probably wants to move on. He's been here a long time, but I think the Ange was probably key in just getting another, not only an extra season, but the best season of his career out of him.
You get the feeling with Rogic and near Bitton that Rogic was one that wanted to go, and we persuaded him to stay for another season, and Bitton was probably the guy that wanted to stay, and we sort of gave him the bad news that he probably had to depart. But see when he came off the pitch, Rogic, when he came off and he started crying at Celtic Park, nearly had me going. Because it's weird seeing that.
It was roasting that day. It was really hot as well. And we said just
sweat that ran.
Is
that his excuse? Is it?
We said just in the halfway line in the north stand as well, and I had a hat on and sunglasses as well. I was kind of getting a bit sweaty, and I took my sunglasses off and kind of started doing that. I was like, see if I'm on camera. I swear to God, it's going to be one of those guys that's on just been gift forever.
See what Steve was saying about the European thing. You've just dislodged a wee memory. My favourite game was Celtic v Man City, 3-each. Kieran Tierney scored in that game. Who passed the ball through to him?
I hope it was...
It was Tom. It was Tom. So he has done it in there, but seeing him go off, and it did catch us off guard, because a couple of weeks previous I'd said on a podcast, like I said at the end of last season, Beaton, Rogic and Griffiths have to go. I don't think it's just time up for them. Rogic has changed my mind on that, and even then I said, look, I want him in our contract. He's only got a year left, and this has been his best season from him. I know it might be recency bias, but the performances and even the things you criticise Rogic for, like, he can't get about or pressing, he done all that under the manager. But Ange coming in, I think, was the perfect match for him. I don't think we'd have seen him with any other manager. And when he was walking off, when he put up the post, like, this will be gutting, then you see everything through the day, then you get to the match and you're like, oh no, this is it. Like, it's actually happening, man.
He's going to be some free transfer for somebody. I don't know where he's going to end up, but 29, and he's a player that can really contribute at that age. He's not on the scrap heap. It's two players there that were absolutely instrumental in bringing us the title. There we go.
Scenes.
You were there that night, Melly. I don't think you took that picture, did you?
No.
You were there that night. Where does this title rank? You've seen so many in your life. Because for me, following Celtic this season, undoubtedly doing the podcast for this season, it's been one of the best seasons we've ever followed Celtic. All the ups and downs and the dramas and the stuff to cover, and eventually clinching at the end. For you, where does it stand?
Probably going to say I think it's my favourite, and that I was kind of holding this back because Wednesday night would it change my mind a wee bit on that, because
honest, how unsufferable would it have been had they won that?
They're bad enough having getting beat, like greeting about planes and all that.
Now they're all moaning about having to drink out of toilets and all this carry on.
You get what you deserve, don't you?
The Tims were having a party. The Huns were drinking piss.
There were bottles of water available, it's just they're all too tight.
Don't want that.
Argyle, it's free in here.
Tell them it's holy water.
That's probably why they didn't take it. They'd rather toilet water than holy water. But just with that sort of sealed it. And I kind of said all this week, I was like, because we were doing this, and it would have really hampered things if they had won it. But I just got the feeling that the way the seasons went, the way things were going with Ange, and the way things went last season, I felt this was our time. Nothing is going to stop that. I felt Frankfurt should have done better and won that. And I thought, no, this is going to be good. It's going to be a good couple of weeks, a good May for Celtic. And when it's all said and done, when Rangers bottled it and lost it, and you can look back now in Celtic and go, right, what do you look for in a season? Because we've had the Rodgers one where he comes in and just blows everybody away. We won 34 out of 38 and probably should have won all 38 games. But there wasn't really a challenge. But going from that last season to this season, having to bring in all these players, like 15, 16 players, a new team, and then to go on and win the league. But not only win the league, win it convincingly in the end. That
we guide them.
It's hard to wee guy the weeest guy in the world, you know, isn't it? But when Ange done it, and you see the calibre of guy he is and the calibre of players he brought in, and I was like, do you know what? That's everything I look for, because this season's been really emotional, from that first game back to full crowds, to the first game where we beat them, to going to Ibrox to beat them. Luckily enough, we got to speak to Ange and speak to some of the players at press conferences, and then just the fact that everybody got behind it. Everybody could see something special was brewing here. And then when you go down and win it, and I've never had a win like that where you win it away from home and then everybody just seems to know, go to Celtic Park. And then, like, how did you know to bring fireworks? Like, there's a guy with a full box of fireworks there.
Always be prepared. My favourite thing was when you look at the celebration we had at Celtic Park, and everybody partying, and then when we win the league, we're all in the Gallagate, fucking smoke bombs and party and music and bevy and suntans, and everyone's having a great time. And then you look over at Seville and they're all greeting and drinking piss and fighting and throwing pie off on each other. And then you remember, it was only 1 week ago, they were all, well, you know what, making the Europa League's actually better than winning the league. Didn't he look like it? It looked like we were having a better time than yous.
And when you look at George Square, they said the other night, we're taking away the benches in case they have a party after that.
What's the benches back? The benches are fine.
So I think it's right up there. Martin O'Neill winning it was special because that was my first one. Wim Janssen, obviously, but then Martin O'Neill was the first one. I felt like Celtic were onto something.
What about Neil Lennon version 1? There was some good wins there, come on.
There was, but that as well, that first one, Neil Lennon, was amazing because they died, obviously, and you had that. Like
all the hits tonight.
No matter,
it's the greatest hits. That's what
no matter what happens, no matter what we do now, everybody in here can sit and say they've seen the club they hate died. That's tremendous, man. Not a lot of people.
Another point of order. Yeah. They were never happy to admit that up until they made the Europa League, and then they were going,
10 years.
We died 10 years ago and came back and we're in Europe. Yeah. All right. Okay.
So,
finally.
So when you look at all that and you look like Martin O'Neill was class, that was a good Rangers team, but then Lennon's first stint when he won that first one, but the ones after that, there was no Rangers in the league, and then when Rangers come back under Rodgers, like, there wasn't much of a challenge for a while. So this one, like, I didn't expect us to win the league, and coming into this, just all the emotions from everything, from getting back into the stadium right up to that, like I said the other day, that will live with me forever. And then the scenes on Saturday, I don't think that could be topped, but walking in on Saturday into the chaos, and I was like, no, this is the way it's meant to be.
Is it as simple as just having been the underdogs and having been written off and ridiculed and all that?
I think it is.
Season is that makes
I think
it extra
it's
sweet?
all the gloating they did last year,
Yeah.
and I think I'd sort of said this at the time. It's the mark of strong champions, the mark of proper champions, the mark of a big club is, okay, you lose one league in 10, then you come right back and take it after them, and that's the difference between us and them. That's the difference. They win one and they don't shut up about it. Okay, you won 1 in 10. We don't win 1 in 10 and we're furious about it. We rebuild the club. We bring in a new captain. We bring in a new manager. We bring in new players. We batter them into the ground. We snatch it back, and now they're just left greeting about it. And they could come back next season if they want another shot, and we're going to take it back after them next season.
Oh, what a different tone this could have been after Wednesday night. Oh, honestly. He could have been
Because we never
here.
stop.
He could have been sitting here with them.
Oh, imagine it.
Straight in pot 1 of the Champions League and all that. I was all sitting just being sheepish about it. But
Well, when we booked it, the league wasn't even close to being finished.
No, it wasn't
So
finished,
they could have been champions and Europa League winners, and we were just sitting here like that. So it could have been a very different tone
Top
tonight.
dogs
but-
to hot dogs.
But I think these comparisons are good. I think you need to go back to Martin O'Neill to find anything that's comparable with this, because that was probably the last time that we came from such a massive margin. What was it? The Cavalier won by 21 points or something like that the season before Martin O'Neill took it back. Prior to that, you're looking at 98 when it just seemed like an endless procession to them winning 10 in a row.
That was pure relief more than anything.
That's very true. So this is up there with anything. It feels absolutely great. I think it's definitely the best thing I've experienced since the 98, stopping the 10 and all that. Because at my age at that point, I'd never really seen any league wins or anything either. So to have done that against that juiced up juggernaut that was the Huns at that point was very special. But to have come from where they were, as I said, total ridicule, total write-off, and to win the league with games to spare was something else this season.
Very quickly, thoughts for next season? Champions League? This is where we belong, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and hearing that music again is going to be tremendous. And when you just see the calibre of teams in there, you're like, that's where you want to be. Like, people could say, what if we go in and get...
Give us Frankfurt.
Oh, aye.
We batter them. They were rotten.
Bloodbath.
They were rotten.
Imagine all the, like...
They'll never have a better chance to win the Europa League.
No,
they
they're
blew
not.
it.
And if we get Frankfurt, it'd be class, because I hate all that stuff we do, like piping teams in and that, but with Frankfurt, welcome Oldham. Come on in, boys. Come on.
Frankfurt up the same way.
Get them in. Just lovely handshakes and swapping pendants and all that at the start. Big class, man. But look, when you get to this point, everybody's always said, like, Ange Postecoglou's second season is going to be better. And watching Celtic this season, you can see, look, from January onwards, we've been good. But going into next season in the Champions League, regularly in the Champions League, I don't really watch it much anymore until the semis maybe, but you see beatings dished out. And Celtic are capable of taking a few beatings, but they're also capable of a couple of scalps in there as well. And if we manage to keep this team together and add a couple of bits of quality, I think you're kind of aiming for, depending what you get group-wise, but we don't get the luck of the draw like the Huns do, so we'll get a tough group. So if you can get into that third spot, get into the Europa League and then go from there, I think it'll be good. But the main thing for me is, like, I'm not scared going into it anymore, because Celtic have been really good this season. They've been great to watch, and I want to see them going up against the top dogs in Europe, because this is when you find, this is what players aspire to, and this is what the manager will aspire to. So going up against these teams is going to be class, and this is where Celtic belong, and we're back, baby.
We are back, baby. We're going to quickly stop. Before we stop for the intermission, to let you guys get some drinks, because we're not hungry. We're ravenous. We might as well look at some Hun receipts very quickly. These are some of our favourites from the season. The top left there, you see Hugh Keevans, still employed. You can still find him. At the very least, we know what Ange stands for. Absolutely not good enough. That was back in August. Brilliant, Hugh. Chris Boyd at the bottom here. No Chris Boyd fans in the room. Brain dead. Telling Angie has to quit. My personal favourite, though. I don't know if you know who David Baldwin is. Anybody know who that is? Saying, what a stupid article, total lack of understanding of the business of football, written in a disrespectful manner to a top player. That was after this journalist at the bottom, whose name I forget, wrote
Alison McConnell.
Alison McConnell wrote that Ramsey was just a desperate last road. That gentleman up there is Aaron Ramsey's agent. And there's the Athletic. You can pay if you want to subscribe to Athletic, saying Aaron Ramsey was the biggest signing since Gaza. they would have been better off signing Gaza. To be real. There's a Hollywood Hogan there. Has blown for half time. So go and get. That's not Stephen. No. I've never noticed that before. Unbelievable. There's your cyber bullies. Now you know what it's like. Now you know what it's like to get bullied. Right, go to the bar, get yourselves a drink. We'll be back out for the second half.